Hi there again, boys and girls. Today in our literacy lesson we're going to look at another little bit of Matilda, which we started reading in yesterday's lesson. And our objective today is to see if we can write a setting description based on what we've read. To be successful, we're going to see if we can prepare our ideas for writing. We're going to see if we can use simple sentences to describe what's happening. We're going to see if we can use conjunctions to extend our ideas, which we've done a lot of practice on. And we're going to see if we can consider our vocabulary choices. So, we're going to read an extract from quite a way into the book. We read yesterday pages 7 to 9, but today we're going to be looking at pages 96 to 100, so we're skipping quite a lot of the book. Because we're doing that, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about what's happened along the way. So Matilda is a bright child with an extraordinary intelligence, but she is not appreciated by her family or her horrible head teacher, Miss Trunchbull. Her teacher, Miss Honey, is lovely and sees Matilda for the amazing child that she is. So she's the only person at the moment who sees Matilda as that extraordinary child that we know she is. This extract is from a part of the book where Matilda is being told about the punishments that Miss Trunchbull gives. So we're going to find out what happens in this part of the story, and then we're going to see if we can do a task together.
Before the first week of term was up, awesome tales about the headmistress, Miss Trunchbull, began to filter through to the newcomers. Matilda and Lavender, standing in the corner of the playground during morning break on the third day, were approached by a rugged 10-year-old with a boil on her nose, called Hortensia. "New scum, I suppose," Hortensia said to them, looking down from her great height. She was eating from an extra-large bag of potato crisps and digging the stuff out in handfuls. "Welcome to Borstal," she added, spraying bits of crisp out of her mouth like snowflakes. The two tiny ones, confronted by this giant, kept a watchful silence. "Have you met the Trunchbull yet?" Hortensia asked. "We've seen her at prayers," Lavender said, "but we haven't met her." "You've got a treat coming for you," Hortensia said. "She hates very small children. She therefore loathes the bottom class and everyone in it. She thinks 5-year-olds are grubs that haven't yet hatched out." In went a fistful of crisps, and when she spoke again, out sprayed the crumbs. "If you survive your first year, you may just manage to live through the rest of your time here. But many don't survive. They get carried out on stretchers screaming. I've seen it often." Hortensia paused to observe the effect these remarks were having on the two titchy ones. "Not very much. They seem pretty cool." So the large one decided to regale them with further information. "I suppose you know the Trunchbull has a lock-up cupboard in her private quarters called the Chokey. Have you heard about the Chokey?" Matilda and Lavender shook their heads and continued to gaze up at the giant. Being very small, they were inclined to mistrust any creature that was larger than they were, especially senior girls. "The Chokey," Hortensia went on, "is a very tall but very narrow cupboard. The floor is only 10 inches square, so you can't sit down or squat in it. You have to stand, and 3 of the walls are made from cement with bits of broken glass sticking out all over, so you can't lean against them. You have to stand up more or less at attention all the time when you get locked up in there. It's terrible." "Can't you lean against the door?" Matilda asked. "Don't be daft," Hortensia said. "The door's got thousands of sharp, spiky nails sticking out of it. They've been hammered through from the outside, probably by the Trunchbull herself." "Have you been in there?" Lavender asked. "My first term, I was in there 6 times," Hortensia said. "Twice for a whole day, and the other times for 2 hours each. But 2 hours is quite bad enough. It's pitch dark, and you have to stand up dead straight, and if you wobble at all, you get spiked either by the glass on the walls or the nails on the door." "Why were you put in?" Matilda asked. "What had you done?" "The first time," Hortensia said, "I poured half a tin of golden syrup onto the seat of the chair the Trunchbull was going to sit on at prayers. It was wonderful. When she lowered herself onto the chair, there was a loud squelching noise, similar to that being made by a hippopotamus when lowering its foot into the mud of the banks of the Limpopo River. But you're too small and stupid to have read just so stories, aren't you?" "I've read them," Matilda said. "You're a liar," Hortensia said amiably. "You can't even read yet. But no matter." So when the Trunchbull sat down on the golden syrup, the squelch was beautiful. And when she jumped up again, the chair sort of stuck to the seat of those awful green breeches she wears, and came up with her for a few seconds, until the thick syrup slowly came unstuck. Then she clasped her hands to the seat of her breeches, and both hands got covered in the muck. You should have seen her bellow. "But how did she know it was you?" Lavender asked. "A little squirt called Ollie Bogwhistle sneaked on me," Hortensia said. "I knocked his front teeth out." "And the Trunchbull had you in the Chokey for a whole day?" Matilda asked, gulping. "All day long," Hortensia said. "I was off my rocker when she let me out. I was babbling like an idiot."
Aren't you glad that Miss Barr doesn't give punishments like that? Poor Hortensia, she had to visit this horrible place called the Chokey, and what I've done is I've given some description of what the Chokey is like. So we can see here, there's sharp rusty nails sticking out. A small space to stand. It'd be really uncomfortable standing really straight, especially if there's nails poking out, because you'd have to avoid the nails, but you'd have to stand really straight. It would be horrible. Dark and dreary. It wouldn't be very light in there, so that would be quite scary. Smelly, rotten walls. Oh, I can't imagine having to stand there and hold my breath as well as being able to stand so still. And it's definitely cold and dangerous. So all in all, not a very nice punishment at all. I'm glad we don't have a Chokey at our school. So what I'd like you to do today is, using these ideas about what the Chokey must have been like, I would like you to see if you can write a diary entry from the perspective of Hortensia, who had a trip to the Chokey. What could you hear? What could you see? What could you smell? What could you feel? Use your senses to help you describe how it made you feel. Remember, when you're writing a diary, we have to stick to the past tense because it's already happened to you. And if you're writing from Hortensia's point of view, you are pretending to be Hortensia, so it's got to be written in the first person as well. When you finish your diary entry, please feel free to upload it to DB Primary so that your teachers can see it, and then come back here and we'll have a look at our self-assessment together. So today our objective was to write a setting description. Presentation and effort, obviously that's for you to self-assess. Next step, were you able to prepare your ideas for writing, or did you find it a little bit tricky? Maybe if you found it a bit tricky, you could spend a bit more time thinking about preparing your ideas. Did you use simple sentences to describe with the correct punctuation? I hope you all did. If you didn't use conjunctions, maybe that could be your next step, because I know you can do it, so sometimes it might be forgotten. And did you consider and up-level your vocabulary choices? Have a read through now and see if there's anything you'd like to up-level to maybe work on that next step already. Well done in today's lesson. Hopefully tomorrow we'll read a little bit more of Matilda and find out more about this little character.